Hello, my teens. This is Amiraj, and I welcome you to the very first lecture of your CBSE Class 9 chapter, Diversity of the Living Organisms. So, this is your Class 9, Chapter 7 of Biology. Okay, and we'll be starting with this chapter today, a very good chapter which students consider as Dracula. Do you know what this chapter is called? It's pretty funny. Dracula. Why? Because this is a memory based chapter. You have to learn a lot of facts, lots and lots of facts in this chapter. But don't worry, because if you attend my sessions, you'll automatically learn them. I'll make you learn. Okay, today we'll be doing the basics of classification. This is the chapter Diversity of the Living Organisms. Shall we get started? In case you're ready, hit on the like button and we are gonna start the session. Okay. Number one, there are some terms which you should know that those terms are very, very important. So, the first term that we have with us is biodiversity. What is biodiversity? It is basically the variety of animals and plants living in a given geographical area. That is biodiversity of that geographical area. For example, let's say that students you live in Jaipur or let's say Jaisalmer in Rajasthan. Okay. So the different plants, for example, cactus, and the animals, for example, camels. This cactus and camels, they are going to be the biodiversity of that region. Bio, life, diversity, variety. Variety of life means variety of different living organisms like plants and animals, flora and fauna. So the different plants and animals, their variety, which are living in a given geographical area, is called biodiversity of that given geographical area. Learned everybody by heart the definition? Alright, let's understand. Why is this classification even required? You will say, Arre, रहने दो ना, why to classify the organisms? If lion and tiger are there, then let them be. Why are we putting our efforts into classifying them into groups? Let's understand. To make the study of the diverse organism on the planet easier. Otherwise, if we study the organisms individually, then it will be very difficult for us to actually make out what features that organism possesses, what are the different structural features, or their anatomy, isn't it? Two terms are there, morphology and anatomy. Morphology refers to the external features. Anatomy refers to the internal features. Okay, so we need to classify them in order to study about them, in order to research about them. But you'll ask, how to classify them? There are so many different types of species. Then how can we classify them? Any idea? Screen is visible, right? Visible. Perfecto, guys. Okay. Animals and plants were categorized in groups and subgroups based on similarities and differences. Okay, let's say if two animals, they are having some kind of similarity, then they are put under one group or subgroup. Okay, so based on the similarities and differences, they were categorized. The criteria, the similarities. Clear now? Great. Now, system of classification by Aristotle. You people know about Aristotle. He is the father of zoology. Okay, the father, because he contributed so much in this field. I cannot explain you. So, what was his system? What was his method? Let's understand that. He classified animals according to their living environment, terrestrial or aquatic. So, terrestrial if that animal lives on the land, aquatic if the animal lives under water. So, on the basis of that, Aristotle classified the animals as terrestrial or aquatic. Terrestrial, land, aquatic, water. What was the drawback? Drawback means the disadvantage or limitation. The limitation was that some animals can be found in sea as well as on the land, and they vary greatly in size. Okay, okay. Basically, we are talking about the animals that can live both on land plus under water. Now, talking about Charles Darwin and the theory of evolution, let's talk about that. So, Charles Darwin was a biologist, okay, and he wrote a book, Origin of Species, how the evolution took place, how we evolved from an early human to a human right now. The changes, the theory of evolution, origin, our origin, right? How we originated. This is something which is given in his book. You can read it. It is a good book. Okay. As per his theories, all organisms have evolved from unicellular organisms. From one cell, many cells have been formed, because of which the organisms became complex and complex with time. Talking about evolutionary relationship, primitive body designs came early in the evolutionary history, leading to more complex designs. Primitive means very simple, simple body designs earlier, now complex. Okay, due to evolution, because of common ancestry, all organisms are related. All organisms are connected or related due to having common ancestors. Okay. Amazing. The hierarchy of classification. Let's understand that. Ernest Haeckel, Carl Woese, and Robert Whittaker. These three biologists contributed in the hierarchy, the table of classification. Let's understand the basis of classification now. That is going to be very, very important for us. Now, on the basis of presence and absence of nucleus, you can have prokaryotes or eukaryotes. What are prokaryotes? They have cells, let me change the color, have cells without a well-defined nucleus. So they don't have a well-defined nucleus. It's not visible actually. Okay, their nucleus is not visible. They are the prokaryotes. Eukaryotes have cells with well-defined nucleus. Their nucleus is visible. This is your cell. There is a nucleus. Okay. And the presence of nucleus and membrane-bound organelles gives better efficiency to the cells in terms of their functioning. Okay. Now, number of cells in an organism. So, number of cells: unicellular, multicellular. Unicellular, one cell. Multicellular, many cells. Okay. Mode of nutrition: autotrophs, heterotrophs. Autotrophs, the organisms which produce their own food by photosynthesis with the help of our magic chlorophyll, like plants and algae. In algae, also remember students, it is blue green wala algae. Chicken, not all algae. Blue green algae. Correcto? They are autotrophs. Heterotrophs, which are dependent on other plants or animals, as they don't have chlorophyll to produce their own food. Fungi, bacteria, protozoa, and other animals, including humans. Okay, so mode on the basis of mode of nutrition, we have autotrophs, heterotrophs. Now, level of organization in body. Small multicellular or large multicellular. Small multicellular, particular group of cells are assigned a particular function. Tissues, and in large one, tissues group to form an organ, which in turn makes the organ system. Okay, here let me explain. In the small multicellular organisms, a group of cells has to do a particular function, whereas over here this group of cells becomes larger and larger to form an organ, a specialized organ to perform that particular function. Now, talking about Robert Whittaker's five kingdom classification. So Whittaker Baba said that we can classify organisms into five categories. Okay, the five groups are cited, right? Okay, Monera, Protista, Plantae, Fungi, and Animalia. These are our 5 groups. How many of you can name them? Hit on the like button in case you can name them. Okay, great, great. Acha. So these are the 5 groups. Organisms, now using these criteria, we'll understand. Organisms can be prokaryotic, eukaryotic. In prokaryotic, we have Monera. So all Monera are prokaryotic. All organisms under this category of Monera do not have a well-defined nucleus. Okay, so no nucleus, you can say, in Monera. Now, eukaryotic can be either unicellular or multicellular. Okay, let me erase the ink on this slide. Okay, so if I talk about unicellular eukaryotes, they are protista. Okay, Monera is prokaryote. Okay, protista is a eukaryotic unicellular organism. Now, if it is multicellular, it can either be with the cell wall or without the cell wall. If a multicellular eukaryotic organism is not having a cell wall, then it will be grouped under the category of Animalia. And if it has the cell wall, then there will be again some conditions. Whether it is going to be phototrophic or heterotrophic, that is autotrophic or heterotrophic. If it is able to produce its own food, then we'll group it in the kingdom Plantae. If it is not, then we'll group it under the kingdom Fungi. Okay, so Plantae. What are Plantae? They are eukaryotic multicellular organisms with a cell wall plus phototrophic nature. Whereas fungi are eukaryotic multicellular organisms with a cell wall but are heterotrophic in nature. Clear? Chali, let's start with Monera. We'll understand it step by step. Let's understand people. Monera. Monera lacks a defined nucleus or organelles. They do not have organelles. Okay? They'll say organelles, tata bye bye. We don't need you. So Monera group is prokaryotic. Prokaryotic. Okay? Are unicellular. Very important MCQ. Neat MCQ. Okay, unicellular, just one cell. Cell walls are present in some organisms. In some organisms, you will see a cell wall. Nutrition can be autotrophic or heterotrophic. Okay, examples: bacteria and blue-green algae. So they are the examples of kingdom Monera. Clear? Protista. Protista, they are unicellular and eukaryotic organisms, as I told you. Locomotion, how do they move? So their movement, how does that take place? By hair like cilia or whip like flagella in a few members. So they have these hair like cilia or whip like flagella for moving. Okay, hair in there. Nutrition can be again autotrophic or heterotrophic. Examples: algae and protozoans. What are the protozoans? Amoeba, paramecium, right? Fungi. What about fungi? Heterotrophic eukaryotic organisms, nutrition is saprophytic. That is breaking down dead and decaying organisms into simpler matter. Fungi, plantae. They are the multicellular eukaryotes with cell walls. So they have cell walls basically, and they are autotrophic in nature. That means they use chlorophyll to prepare their own food. Animalia, they are multicellular eukaryotes without cell walls, and nutrition is heterotrophic. Now the levels of classification beyond kingdom. So beyond kingdom, see the topmost is kingdom, then phylum, class, order, family, genus and species. So this is the decreasing order of the hierarchy of classification. So let's start with species, the bottommost level. Now, species includes all organisms which are similar enough to breed and perpetuate. What does that mean? Species basically includes all the organisms that are similar enough to breed or to produce offsprings. Okay, so all the organisms which can breed together and produce progenies or offsprings are termed as are grouped under species. For example, if I talk about Homo sapiens, now Homo sapiens, that are human beings. So two human beings can breed together and produce a new human being. It means human beings are having the same species. Let's have an amazing fact that is about lichen. So symbiotic relationship between fungi and algae. Algal part provides food and fungal part provides mineral and substratum. So you know about the relationship, the symbiotic relationship that you have read in your lower grades. Question: which are the five kingdoms included under Whitaker's classification? So do let me know in the comments in case you know the answer. And thank you so much. You know what you have to do. You need to hit on the like button. You need to share the video among your friends. And you need to subscribe to the channel in case you haven't done that yet. This is Amirar signing off. I'll meet you in the next session. Thank you.